Hey friends, Buddy, FTRV, how you doing? It's kind of bright out today. We're, I guess, behind Vincent Van Gogh here. Let me show you. We're getting ready to install a new camera. Stay tuned, we'll tell you why. Welcome back. We are in Vincent Van Gogh, and it's actually warmer in here because the sun's blaring down. Why are we going to install a new camera on the van that we just installed one on maybe a year ago? When we got contacted by Halo View here, I told them we had a camera and we just put it in. She still wanted me to try it out, and what sold me on it was two big things. Number one is the camera is supposed to be full color at night, whereas this one is black and white at night, which, let me show you here. What happens is, and I have no idea if this has to do with black and white or not, but every time I hit the brakes, you can see here that the screen gets bright and then it adjusts appropriately. But it's kind of blinding when you're driving down the road, even when I put the screen down, just having that change of color. So that's the number one reason, is having, or not even number one, that's one of the reasons, is that at night I'm going to have color on this camera here. Number two is sound. This one has sound. And what's nice about that is, not only will you be able to see if someone's around the van, but you'll also be able to hear if you're not paying attention to the screen. So we can kind of use it as a security monitor. Again, this will take up to 4 cameras. Before we start the installation on this system here, I'm going to flash up on the screen some of the features it has. And while that's up there, if you end up liking the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, comment. All that really helps out the channel. And now back to the installation. Sorry, I'm looking into the sun, but let's go over what you get in the kit. Here's the kit. You got your owner's manuals. You got your 7-inch monitor, your camera that has colored night vision and sound. That is like a weatherproof piece of rubber there to go behind the mounting. This, honestly, I looked throughout both owner's manuals. I don't know what that's for yet. Of course, your wiring, your antennas, some of your installation nuts and bolts and things, 2 different ways to mount it, and then that is like a sunscreen for the monitor. This is geared more towards RVs because you can get the cameras that go on your parking lights, your side marker lights, and then of course a rear view camera. But I'm sure that you can get other cameras for this system, or just buy the one that faces to the rear and put it towards the front if you want for a second camera. Probably the biggest hurdle you're going to have is getting 12-volt power to the camera in the back here. I have existing cameras, so it's going to be pretty easy for me to replace. And usually when you have a van, you're going to have some sort of light or something towards the back that you can get power from. I was able to get constant power, so I can run my camera constantly. There are some other options. Let's go over those. Every vehicle is going to have a light for your license plate, and of course brake lights, reverse lights, things like that. So you are going to have power in the back of your vehicle. With that said, things like the license plate light are only going to work when your headlights are on. So it may be something where you got to at least put your parking lights on so you can have your camera on at all times. Or if you want to do it like vehicles are today, you can tap into your reverse light, get the 12-volt power from there, and then it'll only work when you go into reverse, and it'll come on automatically. So that's another option. But of course, we're going to go with option number 1, replacing the existing camera. So let's get to that. So with any luck, I can get it out from here and do all my connections here, and I won't have to do it from inside. Although I may have to do it from inside. Didn't have much luck pulling the wire out from outside, so we're gonna have to go from inside here. Hopefully I can get a couple of these screws out of, I got some vents back here and also a panel up here. Hopefully I can remove a few screws and get right to the wiring. All right, I was able to get the old camera out. Like I said, I had to kind of come from under here. I got it disconnected. Can I give you a suggestion? Think in the future. When I hooked up this old camera, I guess I wasn't thinking in the future. For some reason, this is the wire that came with the camera kit. I've connected it in here somewhere. What I should have done was made it so I connected it right here for easy access. What I will probably end up doing is cutting this one up here. That way I'll still have this for the old camera, and then I'll just connect the new camera right here. So I'll put some silicone in those old holes. Once I get the wires run, I'll put some silicone around the wire, but it also does come with that weatherproofing gasket, so that'll help too. If you look in the directions here, it is showing the wire coming from the camera, connecting, and I'm guessing they mean leaving the wires in this area, so your connection would actually be in there. But if you look, there's not a whole lot of room to get it in there. I mean, honestly, you're gonna have to really squeeze it in there. So I'm gonna do it the way I originally planned, which is having those connections inside of the van, and then just having this like this. And again, you can see once this is laid flat, sorry, it's upside down. Once this is laid flat up against the van, you're gonna get a really good seal. Look at the difference in the hole I gotta make. Here's the old hole, probably about a 1/4 inch. Here's the new hole, easily a 1/2 inch. So let's get a drill bit that's gonna match the size of that and make this original hole just a little bit bigger. I'm gonna slowly step up. Of course, this is gonna be too small, but once I get to here, or probably here, I'm gonna try it. I don't wanna go too big, no sense in going any bigger than I need to. So once I get to the end here, I'm gonna slowly step it up one at a time. And of course, whenever you're doing this type of work, wear protection. So after stepping up about 5 or 6 times, we got the hole drilled. I'm gonna clean the area up with some mineral spirits. The more I look at this nice rubber gasket they give you, once we get that wire through, you gotta kind of squeeze it through that hole. And honestly, it looks like it's gonna seal up really nice with this. I will still silicone everything just to give it that little bit more protection. But honestly, this is nice and thick and rubbery. I think this is gonna be a great seal. We got our doors open. We're gonna feed this through the hole. And then again, like I said earlier, I'm just gonna have to cut the existing wire from the old camera, and I'm gonna use the connections there. This is why we always say safety first. Reaching my hand up there, I caught a end of a screw, I think. But we did get the wires out. So I'm gonna cut the old camera wire up here. We're gonna hook up the new camera. Of course, we got a pair of wire cutters, crimpers, strippers here. And they did come with some connectors too, so that's good. So let's get these wires stripped, connected, and then we'll pick up after that. Been studying the camera, looking at the instructions some, figured out what this is for. I missed it because it shows it as if it was already mounted on the camera, and it wasn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw this on. But earlier I said, let me show you here. They show you putting this connection inside the camera base. Inside the camera base, and it barely fits. And then stuffing these wires in, and then putting that plate on to add more weatherproofing to it. I still honestly don't think I'm gonna do it that way. I think I'm gonna do it the way I said, where I'll just have the connection in the van itself. It's not gonna matter, it's not gonna change anything. I will put the plate on the back, but again, I don't know that that's gonna change anything. And of course, I am gonna seal everything anyways, just to give it added protection. Rubber gaskets on once it's flush against the top of the van, it'll be pretty well sealed. I'm going to use this rubber gasket to mark my holes. I'm going to throw some silicone in whatever holes I have up there from the old mount, and we'll drill some holes for the new mount. I'm just going to measure to make sure this is squared up, and then mark my holes and drill them for the screws. All right, let's drill some holes. Unless the instructions tell me what size hole to drill, what I like to do is just get a scrap piece of wood, drill the hole into that first, and make sure the screws fit. Safety glasses. Perfect. I think I've cleaned this thing 5 times now, but here we are. Holes are drilled. Let's get the wires run, get the camera up here, get some silicone to fill these holes, and we'll be good to go. All right, she is mounted. And cleaned it up a little bit. But what I did was I put these bottom screws in and I let it tilt forward so I could look in there and I could fill that hole and make sure it was filled nice and good with silicone. And you can see from tightening it up, it has squeezed some of the silicone out, which is good. Do not tighten your mounting screws up too much. You don't want to squeeze this and then bring it away from, you know, your mounting surface. So it is on there. And then it just turns on its own. Of course, we'll adjust that when we need to. Okay, we went ahead and got our ground connected here at this connection, which again, they technically show as being in the back of the camera itself, but I'm not going to do it that way. We got our connections there, and then I'm going to ground right to the metal body right up there. What I went ahead and did is put a connector on my ground wire. It's just going to make it that much easier to get a screw up in there. Trying to wrap that wire around the screw and make my way up into there going to be pretty difficult. So you can do that. You can just wrap the wire around the screw to ground it, but I'm going to do a little connector here. Well, we're all hooked up. I was able to use my old mount to hook up the new monitor, so that worked out great. From the factory, channel 4, camera 4 is what the camera that comes in this kit is going to be hooked to. So I didn't have to do any pairing. As soon as I got to channel 4, it's paired. But if you do have pairing, they do have instructions on here how to do that. There's a button on the camera itself that you have to hit, or if you add new cameras. Okay, so give me a second here. I'm going to do some adjusting and we'll do a little road trip. All right, here we go. Daytime road trip. So far so good. We're doing 25 through the neighborhood. It is definitely a much better picture. Like I said before, this does have a microphone and a speaker, so that's what you just heard, a car passing. Going about, I don't know, 6-8 miles, and everything seems to be staying connected, even at higher speeds. But here we're gonna get up to probably about 50 miles an hour heading home here and see if we get a complete connection. There's no delay. Here comes a vehicle passing us from ahead, a couple of them. So you probably see them pass and then passing the screen. So yeah, it seems to be have great connection. Well, there's the day trip. So far so good. We're gonna do a little trip tonight to show you what it looks like at night. That's what I'm actually wanted to get this system for the color video at night. All right, well, let's just say our byes now because I don't want to do it in the dark. We'll see you in our next video, which is going to be Memorial Day. All righty, stay tuned for the nighttime drive. Bye-bye. Let me try to do a quick little, I don't know, maybe side-by-side or something of the new camera compared to the old camera. It is definitely 100% color. I can see so much more. And then when I hit the brakes, I don't get that bright flash of light, and then the camera's having to change. So this is definitely a thumbs up.